Hello, everyone. Bienvenue tout le monde. Merci tellement d'être ici. Thank you for being here. Y'all, it is the fourth month of 2021, and we have another spectacular, inspiring guest with us today, a soul sister of mine who I love and respect so much. Taryn Strong is on with us. Taryn, thank you so much for being here.
For having me. I'm honored.
Oh my goodness. It's really funny to live in a space where you get to actually be like friends with people who you totally fangirl about. I feel really excited. And I'm also going to try and be professional in today's interview just because everything you do is gold to me. And also a lot of your journey and, what you've done, what you've built, which I'd love for you to talk to us about, has really inspired my business and has inspired courageous choices in my business around what is possible and what it means to build resilience and self-sovereignty when it comes to yourself, your own practice, but also embracing doing business otherwise. So other than what we would look at as like kind of the go-to patriarchal model, I find that you and your mom have just done such amazing things with She Recovers, which is now, if I'm not mistaken, a OBNL. It also has a not-for-profit foundation, right?
Right. Yeah.
So before we go any further, Taryn, for all of you watching into the future, Taryn is, of course, a crossline sister on our doTERRA family. That is how we first met. But Taryn also, which is another exciting thing, Canadian, if I'm not mistaken, which is really nice because we have so many crossline sisters all over the world, but it's fun also to have some kind of like local, crossline sisters come on and chat about the business because it is a little bit different than the way it's run in the States. And Taryn has this absolutely incredible company and now charitable foundation that she built with her mom, Dawn, called She Recovers. Taryn, I'd love for you to just kind of tell people a little bit about yourself so that we know they know kind of what you're working on.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for the beautiful introduction. So yeah, my goodness, what I really love about being a female entrepreneur is the kind of the permission that I've given myself in my journey to be multifaceted and to wear many different hats. So one of the hats that I wear is being co-founder, like Cab's been talking about, of the She Recovers Foundation with my mom. And this was something that started, oh gosh, it's going to be 10 years ago in June. Just as a passion project, my mom and I were both in recovery. We say we're all recovering from something. So I really believe everybody's in recovery, especially now we're recovering from a pandemic, for crying out loud. But my mom and I share that we all were in recovery from like intergenerational trauma, which led to us both having substance use disorders and addictions and eating disorders and codependency and all those things, right? So my mom and I both being on this healing journey and both being in recovery and recovering in very, very different ways. My mom originally took the traditional kind of 12-step route. 12 steps weren't resonating with me as a young woman in recovery. I found yoga, I found essential oils, etc. So we thought, well, let's start a Facebook page and just talk about all the different ways to recover and all the different things we're recovering from. And that was all it was supposed to be. We call it our accidental movement because it organically evolved over 10 years to what it is right now, which is a nonprofit. And normally when we're allowed, we do retreats and we do events and workshops and conferences. Right now, of course, everything that we're doing is online. We have She Recovers recovery coaches and we have She Recovers trauma-informed yoga teachers, and they are holding space online. We have 2 free gatherings a day. The coaches are leading kind of circles and our teachers are leading classes. So that's the She Recovers Foundation, which is really beautiful and meaningful. And then, of course, I have my doTERRA business. I've been with doTERRA for 5 years, I guess, maybe more. I was an Elena Brower fangirl, and exactly what you were saying, Gab, I can totally relate how it's like I used to fangirl with her and now, we're friends and we talk daily almost, right? So it's just such a beautiful thing that like our business partners really do become lifelong friends. That's what I love about this business, right? We have each other's backs no matter what, in all sorts of ways. So I have the doTERRA hat. And then I also recently have started offering my own group mentorship programs and one-on-one mentorship programs where I'm focusing on, I'm a herbalist as well. So focusing on ritual and ceremony and herbalism and aromatherapy and all that beautiful stuff. I'm a trauma-informed yoga teacher. So many, many hats, but I really know that I have the ability to wear all of these hats because for me, I'm in recovery. I've chosen this path of presence, and it just allows me to lean into all of my passions. And I'm just so grateful, so grateful.
I love that. Thank you for explaining all that. And also anyone who's watching this, si vous regardez ça dans le futur, don't worry, I am going to link all of Taryn and the She Recovers info onto our page if you're curious. You know, it's interesting because I actually knew of your work before we met.
Yeah.
Through doTERRA, and then we met at convention. And we got to spend that epic night together at that swanky hotel. Like, I don't even remember what even happened that night. It was like one of the best nights of my life where we did that amazing oil reading with Nicole and like black spruce oil. Oh my gosh. What a night. What a night.
Yeah, it was.
So I just feel so, you know, it's interesting. One of the things that constantly comes back whenever I have these really lovely interviews is all of the women, you know, non-gender conforming, non-cis sisters that come onto our calls just have so many hats, but there isn't this kind of energy of reaching or busyness. There really is this kind of energy of abundance and, you know, gratitude around our ability to be so dynamic and try so many different things. And you didn't even mention the spectacular like jewelry making that you do with your partner. I don't even like every single thing you all make just like blows my brain out of my head, and I can't wait to finally just like dive in and get myself some of your goodies. But that is, I will also link that. I never know how to pronounce it though.
It's Celtic, it's Irish, it's pronounced Niamh, but it's spelled Nimh, just to confuse everybody.
Oh
but
my gosh, like I never would have pronounced it that way, by the way.
No, I wouldn't either, but it's the Gaelic word for like brilliance.
Oh my gosh. Of course. Oh, I have shivers. That's amazing. I will link that too, because the work you all do there, and now that little, you know, family, that like cocoon you've created is also so inspiring. So I'm just so excited for you. I want to dive into some of these questions about the oil specifically. I do have one question though, because I love that you said, you know, the kind of like joke, not joke of we're all recovering from something. I'd love for you maybe just to explain to people who aren't familiar with this term. I mean, I've been in the recovery circle for a very long time, and I was super grateful to have access to the She Recovers online community during the pandemic. But maybe if you could just give us a quick like definition of what it means to be in recovery from something, whatever that may be.
Yeah, absolutely. So for a really long time in the kind of healing recovery world, it was kind of considered that you're in recovery only if you are healing or recovering from a substance use problem, which would be like, you know, drugs or alcohol, substances, right? But then luckily we have progressed away from that to realize that we're all, like we say, we're all recovering from something. So maybe you're recovering from grief. Maybe you're recovering from a broken heart. Maybe you're recovering from codependency. Maybe you're recovering from a shopping addiction. Maybe you're recovering from anxiety, depression, chronic illness, cancer. It's like literally being a human, we are all recovering from something at any given time. And my mom, coming from a traditional 12-step background, really noticed that people in recovery, and there's nothing wrong with this, 12 steps, of course, are amazing and have saved millions and millions and millions of people's lives, including my parents. But in kind of the traditional context, people would be kind of siloed. So if you have an alcohol problem, you go to Alcoholics Anonymous. If you have a codependency problem, you go to Codependency Anonymous, etc. And we just realized that You know, the substances or the behavior aren't actually the problem. They are the problem, but the problem is, why are you using these? Why are you engaging in these behaviors or these substances? It's really about what's underneath. What is driving you to use these substances to numb out, or these behaviors to distract yourself, right? So it's underneath. And typically what's underneath is really universal. And although all of our stories are very different, at the core, it's very, very similar. So we wanted to create an environment where women, regardless of what they're recovering from, could just gather and be together. And that's really been the magic and the medicine of women being together and being able to share and hear each other's stories. And, you know, there's so much power in Me Too. Think of the Me Too movement. But I know there's been so many layers of my healing where I've heard another woman's story and then recognized it in myself. And I was able to be like, oh, yeah, like, gosh, I do have a bit of the disordered thing going on right now. I never would have thought of that before. So there's just so many layers and so much healing that can happen. But we're all recovering from something. Maybe it's your childhood, maybe it's a divorce. It's like, you know, the list goes on and on and on. Religious trauma, racial trauma, trauma in general. So it's just, She Recovers. We just wanted to have a welcoming space for everybody who identifies as a woman or a non-binary individual to gather and heal together, if that makes sense.
That makes so much sense. And I'm so grateful that you and your mom kind of launched that specifically, because, you know, I think one of the things in my experience, and this may resonate with you or not, but, you know, one of the things in terms of my own journey of recovery from, you know, a myriad of things that needed to be healed was the fact that that kind of silo approach that you were speaking to can often isolate people more, because they, even then in their recovery, don't really know where they fit in, because they're not quite just this and they're not quite just this. You know, sometimes it's something as simple as recovering from you know, scarcity mindset, or recovering from perfectionism.
Oh,
Or yeah. You know, so I love that approach. And I just, for anyone watching this, if you are even curious about recovery or what it is to kind of heal those underlying wounds, because it's true, you know, substance abuse can take many forms, and often it is symptomatic of an underlying wound that needs to be healed, and not so problematic. You know, even just in my own experience, you know, my quote unquote recreational use of alcohol, which was not even remotely recreational for a very long time, my ability to stay sober really was directly reflected in the intentional healing that I did of some of those underlying wounds, you know? So I just think that's such a beautiful approach to it. And you and your mom and the whole community are doing such spectacular work. I'm just very grateful to witness it. I would love to dive into oils.
Yeah, I love geeking out on oils.
I'm such an oil geek. So
I only have about 50 beside me here.
I'm like, what oil should I open and like huff while we're talking about this? But so I'm gonna grab one actually.
I'm gonna do a peppermint halo.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I actually have Kim Camuso's Empath blend, citrine and sage. She's another one who's going to come on as a guest that I'm so excited about, because she's just like such witchy magnificence, that girl. But so I'd love to know, what was your first oil experience like? What even was it? Do you remember?
You know, I definitely remember being a little girl and always loving lavender. Like always, even as a little girl, knowing that lavender was an ally and that lavender was a friend and a spirit that I could always count on and always lean on when I was needing comfort and comfort and soothing, right? And especially someone who's part of my story is recovering from childhood trauma. Just those memories of, I would always have little sachets of lavender and just lavender smelling things my entire life. So that's really a beautiful memory I have. But my first experience of doTERRA was balance. And balance and lavender. So here I am. I've always loved lavender all my life. And then I smell lavender from doTERRA for the first time. And I just remember thinking, oh, this is what lavender is supposed to smell like. It was such just a different experience, and just a knowing of, wow, this is it. This is potent. This is pure. This is the medicine. Not claims compliant, but
don't worry, we don't fuck with compliance.
okay, all right. And then balance. So Elena, of course, had sent these to me. And then balance, I remember she's like, just put balance on the bottoms of your feet before yoga. And I did that. And it was just, I just felt so strong, so grounded, so sturdy, so powerful. And it was just, addicted ever since then. I always joke that we switch addictions. We go from one addiction to the other. And my proud addiction I have now is I'm 100% addicted to essential oils, and I'm okay with it. So those were my first doTERRA experiences. Yeah. And they were really profound. Like, it was just so, it's just the immediate shift that I felt in all of my layers of my being was so obvious and so consistent, right? Because at first I was like, okay, was that just placebo? Let's do this again. And no, it's like, since that moment, every single time when I know that I need to shift something, I know that I have the oils to rely on and to reach for. They're just my consistent allies. So grateful.
That's so lovely. Yeah, balance and lavender too. It's funny. I actually spent my entire life convinced that I hated lavender. And then I smelled doTERRA's lavender, and it was such a huge game changer. I don't go a day without using it now. No, that's wonderful. I'm curious, I actually, and we had talked about these, some of these questions before. And one of the questions I had were some of your favorite self-love rituals featuring the oils. But I think I'd also be curious to know what oils you use to really foster self-sovereignty, because I think self-care and self-love they've become such kind of like, I don't know what to say, not cliche, but they're very popularized. I think the last year, every single person on earth has been trying to figure out this whole self-care thing, right? While we're dealing with this global pandemic.
Yeah.
Self-sovereignty to me is learning how to embody ownership of your life, of your physical body, of your spirituality, of your mental body, your mental scape. And more than just regular daily self-care, which is so important, what oils would you suggest people use to have that kind of feeling of groundedness, like you were discussing with balance?
Yeah, absolutely. Balance would be just kind of an easy one to reach for, because it's, pre-diluted either in the roller ball or in the bottle. But I know for me, kind of they're my kind of daily go-tos, I would say, because all day, every day, from morning till night, right? I'm diffusing my oils, and I'm rolling oils on me all day. So there's a lot of different oils that I cycle through. But my ones that I really am always going to for this reason, I find, are like rosemary, wild orange, and cypress. I find that, cypress, being the oil of like motion and flow, just helps to keep energy circulating so that there isn't any stagnation. Because I find when I'm noticing myself feeling stagnant or complacent, that's when I can start to kind of maybe slip back into codependency, or back into just some old patterns, or old thought patterns. So I just love having cypress, just keeping things flowing so that I'm just not noticing stagnation. Rosemary, it's just, to me, it's really about kind of that magical property of boundaries and protection. Rosemary it feels so protective to me. So just really helping me protect my own energy. And then wild orange, I love diffusing with rosemary, because wild orange is just, to me, it just, when I'm having it diluted on my belly or diffusing it, I just notice I'm sitting taller. I'm really in my confidence and in my power and in abundance mindset. And that just really helps inform the type of thoughts and decisions that I'm making. So those are some that are coming through right now in alignment with self-sovereignty.
Those are incredible, and 3 oils that I find so absolutely. And you know what I always find is interesting, I think some of the people that'll watch this video have the emotions and oils book, but some don't. And
Right.
I never, when I first started using the oils, I wasn't even familiar with that whole kind of energetic aspect of them. And when I was gifted the Emotions and Essential Oils book, I started, I generally reach for whatever oil I'm being called to without like going into the books. I kind of do the experience first and then I'll read afterwards. And I've been blown away so many times. And specifically rosemary, if I'm not mistaken, is the oil of knowledge. Is that possible?
Yeah.
It's so, and rosemary calls to me. Cypress also, if I'm in the studio, is so powerful. And then also a lot this year, rose has just like held my hand all day, every day this year.
Yeah.
Which also speaks,
Magnolia.
yes. But I think it also speaks to the quality of doTERRA oils, because any floral scent, before I discovered doTERRA, any floral scent, I was like, no, I hate florals. That's just not me. But it was really because I was associating it to that weird kind of heady perfume synthetic thing. Whereas the plants that we get from doTERRA just they're so earthy as well. There's like an earthiness to them.
And you know what? I love that you brought this up too. Kind of related, but not. But something that I was really fascinated with at the beginning of my journey was oils. There's the oils that we love, right? Our go-tos. And then I was also noticing the oils that I really did not like, that I had a strong aversion to. Ylang Ylang, for example. Ylang Ylang, I was like, oh my gosh, why would anybody ever want to smell that? And I'm even talking about the doTERRA one. And then I got the book. Is it in front of me here? No. Emotions and Essential Oils. And it's the oil of the inner child. Well, yeah, this, of course, I couldn't, like, that's the work I needed to do that I was avoiding. Yeah. Then I started doing my inner child healing, and guess what? I love Ylang Ylang. Like, I love it now. But when I was avoiding my inner child work, I just couldn't even stand it. So I always am really intrigued when I hear people really loving or having an aversion to oils. When I share the emotional kind of spiritual property of that plant, every single time it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Which is really cool.
It's so fascinating. I could literally talk about the practice. So I'm gonna stick to our list of questions.
Right.
I'd be interested to know maybe like 1 or 2 oils that you would specifically suggest to people who are starting a recovery journey, if that makes sense as a question.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that if somebody is, brand new to recovery, regardless of what you're in recovery from, keep it simple. I know that there's so many oils and it can feel really overwhelming. And it's like, well, what do I use and how do I use it? So when somebody's coming and they're new to recovery and it's like, there's so much else going on already, keep it simple. Pick an oil that you love that's going to help calm and soothe you. So for me, for example, lavender. Pick an oil that is going to help uplift you and energize you for those days when you're just feeling heavy and lethargic and like blue and what's the point? So for example, peppermint. And pick one that is also going to, depending, some people notice that they have maybe some grief they're working through, or maybe there's insomnia. So also maybe thinking, I say pick 3 oils. So one other thing that you're really wanting to help with you emotionally, maybe it's rage, maybe it's anger, but just keep it super simple, really, really simple protocol. What's an oil you can reach for in the morning? What's an oil you can reach for in the evening? And what's an oil you can reach for throughout the day?
That's such great advice. And then if someone were to say to you, okay, I want to start with 1 protocol, 1 oil, would you suggest topical or aromatic first?
I would ask what their preference was. That's an annoying answer, but some people have a diffuser and they love diffusing. Some people don't have one and they don't want to get one. I really do find though, so I would ask them, what their preference is if they have one. If they don't have a preference, I find the roller balls. I would recommend a touch because they can smell it, they can roll it on themselves, and there's just so many beautiful ones to get. I love the set of the emotional aromatherapy set. I know it's different names in
Oh, yeah.
Canada and the US, but
Yeah.
like that, either the oils to diffuse or the roller balls, that is just recovery 2.0 right there.
Yeah.
It's so perfect. Or even the enrollment kits, like the family, the home essentials, and they're just such a perfect, those 10 oils are such a perfect, to me, recovery toolkit. If someone is wanting to really dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, by the way, that's not an annoying answer because I do have a lot of leaders and sharers on this call. And I think one of the things that we forget is that you don't, we're here to guide the way. We're here to shine the light, but we're not, the best thing you can do is ask someone, what will you use? It's not useful for someone to invest in, say, a huge collection with a diffuser if their diffuser collects dust on a shelf. Whereas if they are someone who's a little bit more somatic and likes kind of that topical application, then they're going to use it and they're going to get the benefits. So I completely agree with you. Asking people, open up those lines of communication,
I
so I
find
love that.
empowers them in the process too, where it's like they're making the decisions on, like they're kind of making their own protocols in a way. You're guiding them, you're asking the questions. I really feel like as leaders and sharers in this business, we're coaches, we're mentoring people. So it's kind of like coaching and mentoring them because they have the answers within. Like they really know what protocol is going to be something that they're actually going to engage in. So just asking them the questions and letting them empower themselves to find something that works.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I was recently talking to some of my leaders about this, and I said to them, I want us to build the kind of community where our people don't need us all the time, where they want us. So they want us to be around, they want to share and spend time with us, but they don't need us and they're not dependent on us for their ability to maximize these tools, which can have such a profound effect, on their health, their rest, their all of these different things. I know that the oils completely changed my quality of life during this past year of pandemic, which we've all had to pivot so many times in such unexpected ways. So I love that. I'm interested in knowing maybe your favorite diffuser, your go-to diffuser blend right now.
Yeah. Well, it has been a lot of rosemary and wild orange, which is probably why that came to mind. And also just for me, I feel like I've been spending so much time on the computer, right? Like, hello, pandemic, Zoom, 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 Zoom. And I just find rosemary just helps with, the kind of mental cognition thing and with focus. But I also am really just totally digging Roman chamomile and clary sage.
Oh,
That's just a favorite of mine. What else? Yeah, those are kind of the two right now that I've been jiving with. I love Roman chamomile, and if it's not clary sage, it's lavender.
okay.
But or always black spruce, cypress, or eucalyptus. Like any of the tree oils those are kind of my three on rotate right now: morning, evening, and afternoon.
Absolutely. That's so funny. We're very in tune with our oil use right now. I wonder what that's all about.
Yeah.
My last question is like my favorite question to ask, but my guests hate this question because we all hate having to choose.
Oh.
You're on a deserted island.
Mm-hmm.
You get 3 doTERRA items. Don't try and negotiate. This is the rule. You get 3. So what would they be and why? And by the way, because everyone asks this, LLV counts as 1.
It does. Okay.
Counts as
Okay.
1.
Okay. LLV. LLV. And do you want to know why? Let me tell you a little story. So I just finished the milk cleanse. Side note, some of you who follow Elena, you may know about the milk cleanse right now. But one of the things in the milk cleanse is I couldn't take LLV while I was on this cleanse.
Okay.
And notice how sometimes, like, you know, LLV is radically supporting all of our systems, but because I've been on it for so many years, I just kind of take it for granted. So I haven't been taking my LLVs for 3 weeks. My nails are so brittle, and like, I can't wait to get back on them. So anyways, LLV. In my mind, I'm like, you should say On Guard toothpaste because it would probably be nice to brush your teeth, but no, I'm not going to even go.
You're alone on the island, so.
I'm alone on the island. Okay. Okay, so household cleaning and hygiene products I love, but we're not going to waste those. So LLV, rose. Oh, this is so hard. And lavender.
It's so hard, and it's so
hard.
mean.
Black spruce and lavender.
Wait, is that 4?
That's 4.
Okay, you can have 4 because I love you. But don't tell any of the other guests, because I actually got a message from, I think it was Julie, the day after, and was like, okay, I think my answer is different. And I was like, okay, but the video's already uploaded, so I don't know, it's fine.
No, that's really hard. I mean, any of us who have ever traveled, I mean, before we're allowed to travel, like, thank you, Go Alignment, for making it easier. But when I could travel, I could not leave without all my roller balls and at least 25 single oils. Like, 3 is ridiculous.
I know. When you start really integrating them into your lifestyle, you know, it just is such a difference. And, you know, I mention this pretty much on every call because I feel like I just can't say it enough. The thing about LLV that people don't understand is that you can try it for a month, and if you don't like it and you don't see any benefits after 3 weeks, you can return it for a full refund. I have gone through and cycled through a lot of supplements in my life as a professional athlete, and I've never experienced anything like LLV. It's a game changer. And we're 4 for 4 now on everyone bringing LLV on the island. So so I love that. Taryn, is there anything else you would like to share with our oil family before we log off here?
Yeah, I guess I would just say, you know, this is just how lucky we are to have access to these oils and to have this amazing community with such bright, beautiful leaders such as Gab. So thank you, Gab, for this, you know, this amazing gift and sharing your heart and your passions with your team. And I guess something that I always say to my folks that come into my oil world is just remembering that consistent use is key, and having your oils in places where you can see them so you remember to use them. And also just really approaching your essential oil life as, like, I think of it as every single time I'm engaging with an essential oil, it's a ritual, it's a ceremony, right? So just really having so much reverence and respect for the plants and the spirit of the plants, and just really knowing that every time I reach for an oil, it is an act, it is a moment of like self-care and self-love, because I'm taking that moment to really first check in with myself. What do I need? Honoring that need, and then connecting with the plant ally. It's just, it is a beautiful ritual. So it's so it's just, there's so many layers to it if you really are called to open yourself up to it in that way. So yeah.
Taryn, I love you so much, and all that is in me thanks all that is in you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing just your like magic with my community, and for everything you're doing for the greater like women female community. It's such important work that you're doing. Anyone watching this into the future, thank you, merci Ylang for being here. And as I said, I will share all of Taryn's links so you can see what other rad stuff she is doing. Much love to everyone, and we'll see you next month for our next guest interview, a surprise guest coming in May. Okay, have a great day.
Bye.